It's easy to go overboard when you're doing a 5 why analysis, really getting into things that are not adding value anymore to your organization. So let's talk a bit about when to stop the 5 why analysis. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. And today's video, it's again based on a viewer question, so keep asking those questions. And this one, it comes from the explanations on basically the problem-solving tools that I like to explain. If you want the problem-solving template, go and hit that link below or the card at top. But one of the things we have there is the 5 why analysis. Now, you can use it as a standalone tool, especially for a bit simpler problems. And it's also part of the 6-step model where in the root cause analysis we combine a fishbone and a 5 why. But the thing is that 5 why analysis, it has the risk of running into root causes that are not helpful. And that is the main thing to look out for. So we can discuss, what you usually find in a 5 why. But in this video, I'd like to discuss with you, when do you stop? So what are typical signals, especially for you as a facilitator of a problem solving of a 5 why effort, to get the team back from a specific line of thinking. And generally, it has to do with going outside of your circle of influence. That is the most important thing to remember when it's about the 5 why. The idea, of course, being that you ask why roughly 5 times, can be 4 or 6, okay, but when you go deeper and deeper into the causes, at some point, you will probably end up, at least if you go far enough, at some cause that is just a fact of life, or that has been a historical decision that cannot really be changed, or you go outside the bounds of your own organization. Now, if you keep within basically your factory, your organization, the things that you did, you are generally pretty fine with the 5 why. If we go outside of our organization and we say that that supplier is bad, and that supplier has done this and that, and they made a mistake, the reason why this is not helpful is that you cannot really change it. So either you go a step further and say, and that is because our supplier selection and supplier management is not up to standard, and this and this and this has to be improved with supplier management, supplier selection. So you draw it back sort of into your own organization and your purchasing and your quality departments, and moreover the systems that you use to run your whole organization. Or you pull it back a step into, but this defective stuff got into our factory. Where is the incoming quality control? Where are the standards of how we get it in? Can we not test for those standards? And if we can test for the standard, then why was it either not done, or did we let it come in anyway? So those type of things. So you either pull it back into your sort of inbound logistic organization, or you push it one step further so that it goes around and you get back to your purchasing. So if we end up outside of our factory, we either pull back to inbound logistics, our own processes, or we push on but get it back into our staff departments and our methods of selecting suppliers and doing something about what can happen. Then the other thing I see way too often, and I really want to warn you about, is when the apparent cause, root cause, is a purchase, a bad project, or bad people. And this is basically all the bad things. So we purchased this stupid machine, or we purchased something that was defective. This is again the blame game, and then putting the blame outside of your factory. Put it with a supplier, put it with something that was done. That doesn't help us solve it in the future. For these ones, for the purchasing errors, the same applies. Either you pull it in and say, what standards did we have to check it for, and why did it still come in? Or then how do we organize purchasing? So how are we going to improve our own organization? Then with projects, it is like the bigger brother of a purchasing error. So often I have heard that because those people of the project, when they did it, they didn't really think about our production, they didn't really do stuff, and they just designed a system that doesn't work for us. So what didn't work? What has to be changed? Now, again, here, I think you should do both at the same time. You should and go back and say which things are not working in our current system and how can we change them so that we now will have a working system. But for these ones, especially for projects, you also go further and look back saying, how are we going to do it in next projects? Because they will come back. You will get new projects. There will be new changes in your factory, in your organization. If you repeat the mistakes of, for instance, not involving anyone from production in a project that's going to change production, you're going to run into the problems again. So here, see, you either, again, pull back or go forward. But do not let a bad purchase or a bad project be your root cause. Bad people, another one of those. It's easy to blame someone. So we sometimes joke that many companies, they don't really do a 5 why, they do a 5 who. Who is responsible and who's responsible for that and who can we blame for that? That is not leading you anywhere. Again, I mean, sometimes you need to retrain or even fire someone because they're just not up to the task. But that is never the root cause. How did we put them at this workplace in the first place? How is our training laid out? How do we manage that the people that work at a specific job have the competencies that you need for that job? Do we check that? Do we train that? Do we manage that? What are the systems that we can change, that we can improve to make sure that this doesn't happen? And with people, I don't really like pulling back too much because you can solve in the machine something so that people cannot really influence it. It's needed as well. Poke yoke everything out of your lines. It's a very nice way to reduce the influence of operator error. But here, really push on, really push for looping it back to your HR system. And HR is not only done in the HR department. In fact, the operations is the biggest HR methods and systems maker, not just consumer. When you run operations, you're a continuous improvement expert. When you are a production manager, when you are a team lead, when you are linked directly to operations, and also, of course, don't forget engineering and quality in this, you are making sure that your machine, your material, but also your man and method work together. So the HR department will support you in this, but don't put it outside of your zone of influence. You make sure that you have a good competency management system. Now, if you follow those guidelines, so as soon as it comes to a purchase project, bad project, or bad people, you pull back a step and say, and how can this be fixed? You also go on and circle back into your circle of influence and say, how do we manage that it doesn't happen again? Then you are using root cause analysis in a good way. But these, or just putting it at a supplier, ooh, dangerous. And I assure you, many people will like to put it there because it is much easier to play the blame game of putting it outside your own circle of influence than really solving your systems. In the end, a 5 why analysis should, for at least 90% of cases, end up at a method, at a standard operating procedure, at any procedure that we have to manage. We have good competent people, that we have the correct machine settings, that our machines are designed for the job, that our materials are what we need for the specs. So the root causes, you find them in improvements of your procedures, of your methods, of how we work, and not in some bad external influence or something else outside of our own control. So now you know when to stop or push on, or both, your 5 why analysis. And if you are ready to use 5 why and solve some problems at the root cause in your organization and make your factory bucket loads of money, go and download my 6-step problem solving template. This is a big part also of how you're going to solve it. The rest nicely leads up to it, and it guides you through implementation. And with this extra information, I am sure you will rock that problem solving. For now, I wish you the best of luck in that problem solving, and as always, don't forget to enjoy the continuous improvement journey.